Greetings, Goddess Body, Mind, Spirit community. This is your Goddess Guru, Tirra Omilade, here for your Oracle Speaks teleconference. I'm so excited about this evening's call. I'm so excited to have you all on the call. Thank you all so much for joining us. This evening, we are going to be talking about empowering ourselves through astrology. And we have a guest on here, April, who is a Pisces moon goddess. She's with Indigo Moon Astrology, and she is going to be sharing information and wisdom to help us just figure out how do we incorporate astrology into our lives without having to become actual astrologers. And just anything else. She's an intuitive also. Just anything else that she, her spirit has led her to share with us. I do want to start off with just sort of bringing us together energetically, getting us centered. And so what we'll start off by doing is just let us all take some deep breaths. We want to inhale. We want to exhale. Let's inhale and exhale. Let's take another deep breath. Inhale. Giving yourself permission, exhale, to just be present now in this moment. And now what we'll do is just invoke some positive energy and vibe for the call. If you would, just open yourself up to your guides of light, your ancestors of light. As we pray, I just want to give thanks for this now moment, for this opportunity, in this now moment, for this opportunity and this time, space continuum, for all of us to be here together, be it live or be it via the replay. I'm so grateful for this moment to connect with other like minds, to connect with the energy of the wisdom of astrology. I ask that the only thing that happens be for our highest and our greatest good, and that all of the energies of light be here with us, supporting us in this cyber circle of spirituality and love. We just give thanks for everyone who is on the call, who will listen to the replay. We give thanks for their lives. We give thanks for their gifts. We give thanks for their beingness. We give thanks for the unity of all of humanity, for the healing of our consciousness where we need to be healed, for us opening ourselves to recognize that we are all one, and so we can love one another, we can be in harmony with one another. And I just ask if there's anything going on in anyone's life at this point that you just please touch them and assist them and show them the way. Help them to understand that they have the power to transcend any difficulties that they may face. We just give thanks for all the children of the world, asking that they have good food to eat, that their spirits are strong, that they have people who love them. We pray for peace. We pray for harmony. We ask the energy of protection to be around us during this call, and we just open ourselves up to positivity and light. And we say, Amen, Ashe, thank you. All righty, so what I want to do is start out with talking about the energy that's governing us for the next week or so from my Netta Oracle. This is the ancient Egyptian Oracle. And I'm sorry, if anyone else has joined in, welcome, welcome. I see some people have joined the call. Thank you all so much for being here on the Oracle Speaks teleconference. And if you're new to the conference call, my name is Tirra Omilade. I am a priestess of the Sacred Feminine Mysteries as well as a priestess of the Orisha Yemoja. And so my goal with this call is to share wisdom to help people have happier lives, to help people feel more empowered, to know themselves, to unfold to their self-realization process, and to walk in self-mastery. And so my goal this evening is to share some wisdom with you all and then get right into hearing from Astrologer April. So my oracle, this week we have the energy of the goddesses speaking. Haru or Oshun, for those of you who know the Oshun energy, and since we're talking about astrology, this is the energy of Venus, as well as Aset, which is Yemonja, as well as the energy of the moon, if we're talking astrology. And so Haru has spoken in the negative, and so what came to me is whenever we're thinking about this energy of Haru Oshun, this is the energy of creativity. This is the energy of joy. And it asks us to be flexible. But with it speaking in the negative, it's saying that we potentially are having challenges with feeling creative, with feeling joyful. And so what we need to do is to get into doing things that we love to do, into having our passion lead, guide, and direct us. If it's not fun, then perhaps we need to do it in a different way or just don't do it at all. That's something to think about over the next few weeks. For me at this particular time, this message is timely because I'm frustrated with so much of what I see in the world. And I just feel like the more I stay frustrated, the less I'm going to be open to creative solutions. And so this is what Oshun is calling for. Haru is to be creative in the solutions. We can't keep doing the same old, same old. But typically the solution is going to come when we're in that good feeling place. And so the other thing to think about is this is a time for us to understand that the law of attraction is in effect at all times. And so with this energy speaking in the negative, it is saying that we may be attracting things to us that we don't want. And so it's important for us to walk present and aware of what are we thinking, what are we feeling. Are we having fun? The more fun we have, the more joy we're experiencing, the more open we're going to be to actually seeing, whatever it is that we want, the steps to getting to where we want. But what will help us get there is through working with this energy of Aset Yemonja. And so what Aset Yemonja is saying is, look, we need to take care of ourselves. We need to have some self-love. We need to believe in ourselves. We need to nurture ourselves. We need to nurture our dreams, something that I keep going back to just based on the energies that are speaking, is what goals have you set for yourself? What intentions did you set at the new year? Did you set at the eclipse? Think about what it is, and we're in Mercury retrograde right now. So, what is it that you said you wanted, and see that as your baby, your child, and nurture that dream, that goal. And mamas, they'll never give up on their children, never. And so you can never give up on your goal. You have to nurture it. But the key is to manage your emotions, because our emotions, oftentimes, sometimes for me, I have to watch my emotions making me feel like I don't want to do whatever I need to do in order to be successful in my goals. And the goals can be simple. They don't have to be grand, but they can be grand. But we don't want to let our ego make us avoid doing whatever it is that we need to do. We don't want to let our emotions sideline us from doing the work towards our goal. And so just like a mother, we have to be doting ever presently. We have to be devoted to whatever it is that we said that we wanted to do. And so the more we take care of ourselves, the more we love ourselves, the more we have devotion to what we say is important in our lives, that is going to lead us to that place of joy. Even when the world around us seems hateful, even when the world around us seems dark, when it seems like our back is up against the wall, we can still find something good, something positive to keep us going. We can never not have hope. That's something my husband preached about last week. You always got to have hope. So we have to work with these energies. And we want to work with the element of water. These are water energies. So, use some hydrotherapy all week long Take those nice, luxurious baths. And while you're doing that, just let it all go. Because Oshun Hetaru says, be flexible. And when things come up over the next few weeks, be flexible. Aset, Yemanya says, chill out, relax. That's how the creative solutions will come to us. That's how we'll see whatever it is we need to do, the next steps that we need to take. And that's how we'll get in a good feeling place. So we want to work with Hetaru Oshun, Yemanja, Aset over the next couple of weeks. The energy of the goddess is needed. And so let us all raise up this vibration within ourselves, work with it within so that we can positively manifest without. So that is the reading. And make sure that you have a pen and paper near you. So if you have questions, you can write them down because we'll have questions and answers at the end. So if you have any questions for me about this reading, let me know. But especially if you have questions for April. I do want to remind you all that we are having the Great Mother celebration through the Institute of Whole Life Healing, September 22nd through the 24th. And you can go to ManyPath, truth.org, and register there and get more information there. This is a time to come and, experience the energy of the Great Mother Goddess. It's also the theme this year is evolving sex, money, and God. So, come on out and get you some of that. I think it'll be, I don't think it'll be, I know it will be. I've gone to the Great Mother celebration many, many times. It's a signature event. It will change your life. So I hope that you all can come. I'll put information on my YouTube channel in this video because I will post this teleconference in a video format on my YouTube channel. So now we will go ahead and begin to get ready to hear from April. I'm going to take you off mute. Okay. So April is an intuitive astrologer. She has been, and I have found April on YouTube, and so I watch her religiously as much as I can. I'm just in that phase right now of astrology addiction. Funny is my older son told me I was boring because all I talk is politics and astrology. And so I am sharing what I have gleaned from the information I've heard her talk about. She basically has been into astrology since she was a girl, but at least for the last 7 years. And once you start speaking April, you can give, exact times if I'm off a bit. But she's been studying for at least 7 years and now is a full-time astrologer. She's the Pisces moon goddess. Her website is indigomoonastrology.com. And when you go there, you can find out other ways to connect with her. But I was watching her show the other night on her YouTube channel, and I think she calls herself the Cosmic Girlfriend. Is that right? Did I remember that right, April?
I put the Cosmic Homegirl.
Homegirl, that's it. The Cosmic Homegirl. I was like, that's my girl. Anyone who loves Prince, she loves Prince, y'all. They're good with me. Because, who doesn't love Prince? Right. But she has a show that she does on a regular basis called Coffee Talk, which you can find on the Astrologer channel on Fridays. The way I would describe her is she's an excellent astrologer and teacher. I learned so much from her. The first video I saw of her on Astrologer made me say, this is one of the smartest people I've ever heard from. So she's so smart, and she's such a great teacher. She's also a sage and a card reader. So sometimes she'll bring in cards into the readings that she's doing, and they're just so on point, the way that she's able to merge the two worlds. She actually did a reading for my older son, and I plan on getting some more readings from her, who she knows nothing about. But just from looking at his chart, she described him to a T. Everything she said was 100% correct. There was nothing that was off. I was just like, thank you so much for this confirmation, because we needed a career reading for him. She also has a career webinar that she does, and she can talk more about that. But she did this career webinar earlier this summer, and I have learned so much from that career webinar. And on her page, because I think that this is important, she has sales going on. So I'm asking you, April, if you would, once you start talking, to sort of share what you have going on, because I think some of those sales are things that people really are interested in, which I know you already know because you know what people are asking for. And so what I asked her to do is to talk about how we can empower ourselves through astrology. One of the things that we talk about within the Institute of Whole Life Healing is know thyself. And I have been into astrology since I was a little girl, looking in newspapers, but for whatever reason, it wasn't until this year that I've gone completely crazy for astrology, and part of it is because it is helping me to turn the ship around in areas of my life that are messed up, and helping me to sort of gauge where I am, why I feel the way that I feel, so that I can just sort of maybe chill out instead of making a mistake of some sort. So knowing thyself from your natal chart to right now is key to keeping ourselves empowered and moving in the right direction. And so understanding astrology, just the basics of it, as someone who is not an astrologer, because I'm studying to be an astrologer, but if you're not studying to be an astrologer, there's still things you can do to stay on top of what's going on. And so that's some of what April will come on and talk about this evening. And so if you all would welcome with me April, the Pisces Moon Goddess. Welcome, my sister.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow, that was like a really great introduction. I'm like over here blushing.
It's all true. It's all true.
Yeah, so thanks for that intro. And yeah, you get, I'm like surprised. I'm like, wow, somebody knows that much about me. Okay. So you did get that correctly about how long I've been studying astrology. And yeah, I've had an interest in it since I was a little girl. Same as what you said. I would look at it in the newspapers, in the back of magazines, the little scrolls at the grocery store, and when you're in line. I would beg my mom to buy those for my sun sign, and it had a little, every day what's your lucky number and all this stuff, and I would, I was really fascinated by it. And then I started really learning about sun signs and being able to, determine someone's sun sign by their characteristics they displayed, the way they spoke, the way they acted, all that stuff, the way they look. And eventually that turned into, I could really intuitively pick up on those things from people. And then about 2010, so you're right about that, 7 years ago, I really started diving deep into astrology through the charts, set up by your exact birth time, and it was just like, wow, this whole world of knowledge just unfolded in front of me, and I became obsessed, just like you, and just kept going and going and going, like, there's more info, wow. And then at, I would say a year or two later, I was at a really depressing point in life where, and Tirra, I'm sure you'll understand what I mean by this, and I say I had a transit of Saturn through the 12th house.
Oh, yeah.
So I was very isolated, and it was depressing, but I really picked up astrology during that time, and it really helped me to see a lot of things, like why certain things are happening, why people act the way they act, why am I the way I am with my personality and everything. So that's pretty much my background on it, and it just took off from there.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah.
So yes.
Sorry. Yeah, so I guess you wanted me to speak about what I feel people should know about astrology.
Yes. For people who, a lot of times, April, and I'm sure you've heard this as an astrologer, people, and I've heard you even say this, they know their sun sign, but they don't know the big three. And oftentimes people are intimidated by astrology. And so they, they don't even go there.
Yeah, that's very true. I have noticed that. And especially, I notice a lot of people will join astrology groups on Facebook based on a sun sign, team sun sign. And then when you try to get a lot of people to go a little deeper and look at their actual natal chart and track their horoscope, then they're like, oh, I don't touch that stuff. And it's like, are you serious? Like, really now? Why not? So I just wanted to give a little bit of knowledge on that to kind of help people to understand. Well, if you look at the root words for the word astrology itself, it comes from an ancient Greek, I believe, word, astron, which means star, and then logia, which means the study of, so the study of the stars. Excuse me. And then horoscope is horo, it means the time, the season, or a year. And then scope comes from scopium, which means to examine. So you're examining time, seasons, and the year. So when people say that, oh, I don't look at that stuff, all it is an examination of time. That's it. It's the same thing as you looking at a clock on the wall or a calendar. Because if you notice, on the clock, there's 12 hours on there, okay? And it's circular. Interesting.
Oh, my gosh, I never thought about that.
Yes, an astrology chart is the same thing, the zodiac wheel or a natal chart wheel. 12 signs, 12 houses, 12 archetypes, all divided up. If you look at a calendar, there's 12 months on there. And then you divide things into four seasons. And then you divide, there's 30 days approximately, 30 days. So if you look at that and then you look at astrology, there's a lot of similarities there. In astrology, we use mathematics a lot. That's basically how I look at it in a more practical way. It's math combined with astrology, and it's kind of like also a weather report when you talk about horoscopes. So it's like you look at there's 4 quarters in a year, and then there's 4 elements in astrology: earth, fire, air, water elements. The number 3 comes up a lot in other ways of tracking time. And in astrology, we have 3 qualities: mutable, cardinal, and fixed. So if you look at just a lot of things that we look at in everyday life, astrology, when you really get into it, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's just a different clock that you're looking at, or a different map, or a different calendar. But it can tell you a lot more than the average, source of that information can tell you. And we use a lot of mathematics. We use degrees. We use angles. And like I said, it is comparable to looking at the weather forecast. The weather forecast, they'll give you like a 7 to 10 day forecast, right, to tell you, well, it might be raining on this day. So you think ahead, okay, well, I might need to wear some gear, the proper gear for that. Well, when we look at astrology and we look at your own personal cosmic weather report, that's what a horoscope is. It's helping you to forecast for that time. Well, gee, I know that I'm going to be having a Mars transit. I better gear up for that. Make sure that I'm not reacting and acting out too brashly. Is that a word, brashly? I don't know. Mercury retrograde, whatever. Too brash of a manner, or, okay, I know I better armor up because a Mars transit will make other people challenge me a lot more, and I need to know to center myself, to keep myself calm, to, that's basically what it is. So, people, when they say, oh, I don't believe in horoscopes, I'm afraid of that stuff, Well, then why do you look at the weather reports? Why do you look at a clock? Why do you look at a calendar? Why do you plan things ahead on a calendar or schedule? Astrology is the same thing. So that's mainly what I would like people to know about it. And it will, looking at it from that perspective, I feel like will definitely help others to implement it into their daily lives, in a practical way.
Yes.
So
that is so good. As much as I've studied astrology, the analogies that you have given this evening, I'm like, wow, I never looked at it. Y'all have said forecast when I hear the astrologers speak, and it makes sense, but just the way you're saying, just look at it like you would look at the time or, just in real practical ways, a weather forecast. That is what's going on. And the thing that I love about it is once people can kind of get a handle on their birth chart, they literally know how to look at it and sort of gauge that. Because for me, I was getting so frustrated listening to astrologers. You break it down. But there were some astrologers, they just sort of give a general guideline, like, it's Mercury retrograde, and think about this and think about that. But if I'm Pisces, ascendant, that means one thing. If I'm Aries ascendant, that's something totally different because Mercury retrograde is happening in different areas of my life. So I just want people to understand that you can get super specific, just like what you're saying, April, with understanding these horoscopes and what's going on.
Yeah, and I think the best way to start out by, of course, is, you mentioned know thyself. That is huge. That is huge with astrology. So, of course, start out by pulling up your own birth chart. I recommend cafeastrology.com all the time because I'm a very practical-minded person, and I try to think in terms of other people who are like me, and they don't understand all the lingo and the jargon of astrology. And when you pull up your birth chart on there, it will explain things and break things down very simply in only like a sentence or two. And then from there, if you don't really understand everything fully, to, of course, get a reading done by an astrologer who will break everything down for you. Once you start to gain momentum with understanding of the ascendant, the moon, the sun, I would say first start out with that. What's your rising sign? What's your sun sign? What's your moon sign? Learn what those mean. Get a reading. And look at the people around you. Start looking at, okay, what's your birth time, cousin so-and-so? And, look at their charts. And then see, okay, and then start looking at everybody and, comparing, well, this person has an Aries moon, and they emotionally react to things like an Aries, and so does this person. And so does that person that has an Aries moon. Wow, okay, so I understand what it means to have an Aries moon now. Just start gathering information, comparing around you, or even do it with people on TV, or that you watch all the time on videos or whatever, famous people that you know. Look at their charts and see, oh, okay, that's why they're such a good actor. They have a ascendant in Pisces, and so they can morph into anything, Just start taking a look at everyone around you, but first start with yourself, of course. And I also recommend journaling. That's the biggest thing with learning about how the astrological weather affects you, the planetary movements affect you personally, is journaling. And start out with the moon. Look at the moon first. It's the simplest, and it's the quickest moving celestial body that has an effect on us. It changes signs every 2.5 days, so you can journal, when the moon was in Aries, how did it make you feel? And if you know your birth chart, where in your birth chart did it travel through, and how did it affect you? How did it affect the people around you? Did you notice everybody was more angry and explosive with their reactions?
Yes.
Start journaling that stuff, And then you can look back and start to see patterns. Oh, okay, every time the sun is here, this is what happens in my life and so-and-so's life. So that's really the best advice that I have for beginners to understand themselves and people around them, and just the planetary transits, aka horoscopes.
So I have to tell you, first of all, one of the things I want to ask you to do is to define what is the ascendant, the moon, and the sun sign, because people ask me that all the time, and I'm like, let me ask April and see what she says. But so you were talking about keeping up with the moon, and I actually agree with you. The more I study, the more I'm becoming fascinated with the moon. I've always sort of been into the moon, but it was more of like new, waxing, full, and waning moon. But now that I understand the moon is going through the signs, it lets me know, like, I remember there was a recent Pisces moon, and I was so freaking sleepy. And then there was a recent Aries moon, and I was, like, so charged up. I was like, yes, let me get things done. Before, I didn't really get what was going on. And so when I was going through that Pisces moon, I thought, you know what, I just need to be gentle with myself. The bottom line is I'm sleepy, and I need to be one with this sleep and go to sleep instead of drinking energy drinks, which is what I will do in a heartbeat if I have a lot to do. But I just gave in and slept. But I have to say, your coffee talk, I don't know what happened because I didn't see the video, beginning of your video yesterday was on Saturday instead of Friday. And yesterday we're in the Scorpio moon. So, I tune in on Fridays. Y'all, her coffee talk is excellent. You learn a lot. She talks about the signs and, the planetary transits through the signs. And she also goes over a celebrity chart at the end to kind of help us better get astrology. And it kind of gets locked into your mind so that you understand it when you're looking at your own chart. But, April, that chat yesterday on your live stream was off the chain. It was so scorpionic. Did you see what I said? I've never seen April's chat like this before. So, like, y'all, in April, maybe you'll do a better job of describing Scorpio, but just know Scorpio is sort of like, I don't know, you can describe what Scorpio is, but we were so scorpionic yesterday. There were people arguing with one another, people talking about their sexuality. I was like, This is such a Scorpio chat. It was hilarious. It was funny.
I didn't see, and one of my regular participants was like, you don't want to see what's going on in here.
Oh, April, it was so, and typically I would just think people are so rude, but now with astrology, I was like, this is so scorpionic. They cannot help themselves right now.
Yeah. Wow.
It was funny. It was funny. It was just so funny. I just get in my zone and just really start channeling and just talking. That I try not to pay full attention to the chat because they don't get too distracted and space out. But that's a really good point there, though, that noticing what sign the moon is to see how all of us are affected as a collective as far as our emotional reactions. So I'll let that lead into, the question that you asked me to answer, which is what are the sun, moon, and rising signs? Well, of course, everybody knows their sun sign. Usually, if you know your date, the day you were born, the month and the day, you know that the sun was in a certain sign on that day, and that's usually what everyone identifies themselves as because of pop culture and the horoscopes within pop culture just highlighting only that little tidbit of astrology. So everybody's, yay, Team Aries, Team Gemini, hey, hey, where's all my Scorpios at? But then when you tell people that, and most people, they base their whole entire personality on the sun sign when that's all that they know. And, then if you try to explain, no, actually that's not your personality trait based on that sign, it's based on something else. Some people don't understand, they get offensive, but there's layers
to astrology. There's so many layers. But starting out with the sun sign, it really is the best. That's the first layer of understanding. And it's to that the sun is your expression. It's your ego. So by expression, it's the expression, how you express yourself as a person. And that's also why it's the most widely known as far as in like Western culture. But if you notice, Western culture is very egotistical though. So that's why such an emphasis on the sun sign, the sun sign, the sun sign. And I think in some other cultures, the moon, like in Eastern, the moon is a little more important when looking at someone's astrological makeup. But the sun, yes, it's your will, your expression. It's a very masculine energy, but it can fall into different signs, and that's how you express yourself. And then as far as learning, I would say that's the first step. But as far as the first layer in astrology, as far as your personality that people meet, that is the ascendant. So the ascendant or the rising, that's the sign that was on the east at the time that your birth was recorded. So, it's whatever sign was over there, that's your first impression. That's where your astrological chart starts. That's where your personal clock starts ticking, is at the ascendant. And that's when people meet you, you unintentionally or unconsciously give off that energy. For an example, Tirra, you're Scorpio rising, I'm a Scorpio rising, and but our sun signs are different. Yours is the Pisces in the 5th, right? 5th house. Yeah, so you're a Pisces, which is very gentle, peaceful, loving energy, and mine is Taurus, which is calm, and it's in the 7th house, which is I just want to get along with everyone. But that first impression people have of us is our rising sign, which is Scorpio. So I'm pretty sure at first some people are kind of intimidated by you, or it might be off-putting, and your little Pisces sun is like, why? I'm such a nice, loving person. Like, I'm not trying to challenge you. Why when I walk in a room is this who is this? What is she? What are her motives? What is she up to? Up to something. So that's why some people, they don't identify fully with their sun sign, and they're like, that'll turn them into a skeptic. Well, astrology is BS because I'm a Virgo, but I don't act like a... Well, it's because, number one, your rising sign is different. So that's what people's impression of is of you. Impression, whatever. Gosh,
you got it.
Retrograde.
You got it.
Good. But, and then, so that's the first layer. And then the second layer, once people get past that ascendant, is the sun sign. So it's kind of like peeling like an onion, or the opening of a lotus or something, Then there comes the sun sign. So you express yourself that way by your sun sign. And then the middle and the final is the moon sign. And that is, the moon travels through the zodiac every 2.5 days. It changes signs. So that's another reason why if people only know their sun sign, they don't know their moon sign, they may be different from another person of their same sun sign. Like, oh, well, I am a Gemini, but I know other Geminis that don't act like me. Well, you guys have different moon signs.
Right.
So the way you emotionally react to things, the way your perceptions are of things, your upbringing, the moon holds so much. And that's why I'm like, oh, the moon is like so much more important than the sun a lot of times. It holds so much within it. The moon, it shows your upbringing, the way you were nurtured, the way you nurture people. It can show your family dynamics. They're all held within the moon. So if you have the moon in a certain sign, it's a likely chance that one of your parents or both of them may have the energy of that sign in their own birth chart, and also within your family. If you look back in your family tree, you have a Taurus moon, so maybe there's a lot of Taurus in your family. When you go back, maybe you were raised in a way that's a certain characteristics of the Taurus sign, like your family always had plenty of food, they were very protective over their possessions, and so on and so forth. So it's very important. It can show patterns within the family and ones that you inherit within yourself, whether good or bad, and family traditions.
Sure.
There's so much within the moon. So, but as far as your personality, this is who you are at home or when you are comfortable around people that you know, people within your close-knit circle or your family, who they see, who they get to know. So not everybody shows their moon sign. Like you could meet a hardcore Capricorn, Aries, and they got this tough shell, but maybe they have a moon in Cancer, but you don't get to meet that Cancer moon unless they really know you. Then they'll be very sensitive, they'll show their sensitive side, their emotional side. They'll share food with you and take care of you, when really you're like, oh, I thought they were mean and a hard gangster. Like, who is this person? So you don't get to see that till you really get to know them. So that's like the middle and innermost layer of yourself within astrology is that moon. So, yeah, that's how I explain the sun, moon, and rising signs.
And it's interesting because once I figured out, like for years, I knew I was Scorpio rising, and I would just think, what the heck does that mean? As I would sit around and say, why do people think I'm arrogant? I'm trying to really figure this out, And then I figured out, I really need to consider myself to be a Scorpio. I actually feel like I'm 47. I have missed out on some of life because if I knew I was Scorpio, maybe I would work with that. So understanding the ascendant for me is like opening up a whole new area of my life and giving me permission actually to let, especially the positive manifestations of that sign, take more of an effect in my life. And then the moon sign is the exact same way. So for me, it's like, as I tell people, my biggest thing is we come here to understand the truth of who and what we are. Self-realization is tantamount to life. And so understanding the ascendant, the moon, and the sun signs, knowing that I'm all three of those, it has opened me up more to myself and made me say, well, I'm going to be, because my moon is actually Taurus. I need to be more Taurus-like. I need to give myself permission to really understand myself as a Taurus. And then, with the way you do your astrology reports with going through the houses, I listen to Scorpio, I listen to Taurus, and I listen to Pisces. And it gives me a better understanding of what's going on. I feel like we're way more one-dimensional when we're only focusing on that sun sign. And you can take better control and have more power in your life once to me, it's almost like if all you do is understand that you are those three signs and you sort of get the forecast of what's happening within those signs, with the planets or whatever, that it will take you so far. Do you find that to be true?
Yeah, I definitely do. And, you brought up a good point about the listening to your horoscope, your forecast for all three of them. And I always let people know that the most accurate that you will get is listening to the horoscope for your ascendant or rising sign because, like I said earlier, once they clock that birth time, that's where your personal clock starts. So the timing of life events are really, really accurate to track by using that ascendant sign. And then secondary is the sun sign. If you don't know your time of birth, you can still get a really good, accurate forecast from an actual real astrologer, okay? With only knowing the sun sign. And then the moon sign, I would say, is the very last, but still listen to it because it can show you your emotional perceptions and feelings and thoughts and reactions to what's going on around you. So it's still important, but lesser than the ascendant and the sun. So listen to them in that order. And, I feel like the empowerment part is not just like, oh, it's fortune telling and you could just know the future. No. It is, like I said, weather reports. You can know kind of some things to expect, but real astrology is not here to predict certain things. Like, we don't, like, you know, if you're the real deal, you have a mission to complete, and it involves your heart and your soul, like the true heart and soul of just wanting to help people. And there are prayers that we say, before we give readings and before we give information. And there's certain things that we ask to be blocked out from our vision because we don't want to provide that type of information to people. Like, the purpose of astrology is not to scare the crap out of people. So if you run into those people and they scare you and they say, give me $180 and I'll remove your negative energy, no. Those are the evil ones, okay? Those are the evil ones. But the real deal people, we're not here to predict your death. We're not here to tell you you're going to get into a scary car accident. And no, we're not here for that. It's to help you to actually to guide your own self, you know, to give you tools and knowledge to guide your own self through your days. And also, one of the biggest things with astrology, especially with horoscopes, that are my biggest point to make with them is this too shall pass. That is the biggest thing, like the biggest reason why I do this. Because myself, because even me, myself, I could be very stubborn, very fixed, very, I used to think in very fatalistic ways. Like, oh, I'll never do this, I'll never do that. Life is always going to be crappy, or if something bad happens, it's stuck with me to where I'm like, oh, it's probably always going to be this way, you know. And I just was really thinking in like really negative ways all the time. Then when I started really understanding, you know, cosmic weather, the timing of things, and how to measure it, then I started seeing, oh, okay, so this is only for a temporary period of time that things are going to be rough like this. Not only that, but there's a lesson within it. And I just really have to think about that instead of wallowing in sorrow and, you know, dread. Like, oh, my God. You know, no, it's like, okay, for example, like Saturn transits have the worst rep. The worst rep. But we know that they last 2.5 years, which can seem like a long time, but when you're really going through hard times that are caused by or brought about by those transits of Saturn, it's like you still can look ahead if you understand how long they last. You can keep looking ahead. Okay, only 4 more months of Saturn in Sagittarius, and it's affecting me in this area. You know what? What have I learned from this? Okay, instead of, you know, feeling like I'm punished, what can I learn? How can I get out of the rough spot of this transit? You understand that this too shall pass. It's the timing of things. Because, that's something that a lot of people can struggle with in life. And that's why a lot of people, you know, and I'm no like doctor or physician, what's it called, psychiatrist, nothing like that. But I have suffered from depression, anxiety. My whole family has. And I can see that a lot of people that are prone to those things, they can think in those fatalistic ways and like stick to that mindset and not see a brighter day, not have faith in a brighter day. So I thought the other day, because some of my family members, man, that South Node transiting my 4th house right now, oh my gosh, my family life is off the chain. Let me tell you, Tirra, but I'm like, wait a second, like, not to say I'm like Miss Goody or anything, but how come I come from these people? I suffer from the same things, but how come I'm not wallowing and dwelling? I'm still like, well, I'm looking ahead. When can we move on? But why do I not need medication? You know, why are they suffering from that? But I'm not saying astrology makes me invincible to anything, but it's just that sense of, this too shall pass. I can look forward to when this is over and know that a lot of these lessons, maybe I needed to learn. Maybe I needed to go through a hard time.
Exactly.
Maybe, what was I doing to cause like a you know, something not so favorable to happen? But everybody else is like, oh, let me drown myself in pills and alcohol and weed and cigarettes and women. And I'm like, yo, man, there's much more to life than that.
Exactly. I know. You know, one of the things that I teach April, is there's keys to self-mastery. I got this from my guru. And one of the keys to self-mastery is awareness. And that's what I hear you saying, and that's what astrology is doing for me. It's making me more aware. So, for instance, you know, I'm still just so new. This Saturn and Sagittarius transit has had me, which I know you already can relate. I'm so frustrated, and I'm so happy it's direct. It's like a weight was lifted off of me as soon as it went direct. But what it did for me was it made me accept I really need to get real in this particular area in my life. And instead of, like you said, wallowing about it, astrology opens me up to say, okay, first of all, what is the Saturn transit? Oh, it's in what house for me? What? Making money? And so it made me more serious. And I also, with realizing it's direct, I'm like, it doesn't mean anything. It's still in my second house. And it's going to go in my third house. And so I'm just going to have to deal with Saturn again. But I'm more aware now. It makes me accept, okay, when Saturn shows up, I just need to get real in this area of my life. And so to me, that is one of the greatest gifts of astrology, becoming aware of what is most important and what is going on right now. Instead of maybe something else I might be focusing on, because I can't remember who I heard say this, but, you know, it's like some people are so hyper-focused on one area of their life, and there's nothing going on in the planetary transits, in the cosmic weather. They really should be focused on something else. And so they might be missing an opportunity, creating, you know, like this lasting, like you are ever presently struggling in this particular area because you missed that transit. Now it's gone, and who knows when it's coming back. So, I just feel like it makes people more aware. Let me ask you this, too. Just really quickly, if you would sort of describe the houses, because I think that's important, and it's more about piquing people's interest to figure out what are their houses and being aware of that's how you figure out what the cosmic weather for you specifically is.
Yeah, sure. So the houses, this was actually one of the hardest parts of astrology for me to figure out at first, because I listened to all these, phenomenal astrologers on YouTube and read their stuff online, but nobody gave me a real logical, clear explanation of what are the houses? What is this house stuff? So pretty much your natal chart is divided up into 12 sections, and each one of those sections rules a certain area of your life. And the best way to learn the houses, I feel, is, first of all, get to know the zodiac wheel itself and the order of it. The first sign is Aries, the second sign is Taurus, so on and so forth. The numbers associated with those signs and the characteristics associated with those signs. Right. Then, when you look at your natal chart and you see first house, second house, what does that mean? First house, well, what's the first sign on the zodiac wheel? It's Aries. So first house has Aries-like characteristics, okay? Or Aries-like things may happen, or characteristics may come out of you during a certain planet hitting that house. You have Aries-like focuses that are going on in your life, like, it's all about me, or I may be quicker to react to things and more easily angered. So, yes, learn the natural order of the zodiac wheel, the number of the sign, and the characteristics. Then look at your natal chart. And like I said, each section, each house, it rules a certain area of your life. And the planets, when they go through them, when they transit through them, they're more like, I've heard someone say the houses are like a stage or something like that. And then like the planets are like the actors. Like they get on that certain stage in that certain play, and they play a certain character for a certain amount of time. Then they leave that house, and then now it's time to move to another stage or movie or play or whatever and play out a different role. So certain areas of your life are highlighted during certain time periods, and that's what's shown by the houses. So, like the sun transits through the houses are is one of the easiest, the sun and the moon, to start out with learning. Like right now, Tirra and I were Scorpio rising, and Leo, it's in the 10th house of career. So there's a lot of career activity going on because a lot of planets are transiting through Leo right now.
Right.
So that's also why we've come together today. Venus, which rules women, goddesses, females,
yes,
feminine, has moved into Leo in our career house. So that's why we are here today, expressing a lot of this stuff. So that's kind of how, and we didn't necessarily plan it that way. Like we were just trying to collaborate on a date that was good for us.
True.
And I'm like, we're like, this one, that one works. So, yes, so it plays out accordingly. So, by learning the houses, that's really the simplest way I can put it of to learn. And it just shows what's going on, what area of life is highlighted during that time period, how you're feeling, how you're reacting to things, So,
yes.
yeah. Hopefully that made sense.
It does. And again, you all, what I want is to pique your interest. If you don't know what the houses are, it is key for me. The first thing was learning that I am, my ascendant, my moon, and of course I already knew my sun sign. That's the first thing, because if you listen to an astrologer like April, and I hope that y'all do tune into her shows, even if you don't understand everything, if you know those three things, she will break down what the activity is that's going on now in that particular house. And you're like, oh, yeah, okay, that's what I'm working on. But once you start looking at that natal chart of yours, you can start pinpointing what's going on. You can just look and see. Even if you don't know the full meaning, you can just sort of look and see. But I hope that y'all begin to learn more about the houses, because it opens up even more awareness for you of what's going on. So, yeah, that was perfect. I did want to ask real quick before we open it up for questions, just how should people go about choosing an astrologer? I'm going to tell y'all, I chose April because, like I said, she's smart, she's straightforward, and just listening to what she talked about in her shows, everything was adding up for me, and I could take it into my own life and apply it practically and get results. I'm very fortunate. I didn't have to, go with a referral or anything like that. I have a friend who recently had a horrible experience with an astrologer, and I was like, oh, my gosh, it's bad, especially if you're new. That will turn you off forever. Yeah. But you mentioned, if they do certain things, say certain things, ask them for all this money, and I think astrologers should be paid well, because the work that you all do is literally life-changing, and I just feel like all of y'all should have, you should be overbooked. But how should people go about choosing an astrologer? What should they look for?
That's a good question. Well, I mean, me personally, I just feel like I think go on YouTube. Like, a lot of people are on YouTube that do astrology and tarot and everything, and that way you get a personal feel for that person and their personality, and you can hear their messages, hear the way they speak, and it resonates with you easily. So that's my best. That's how I got into it personally. I found, I think one of the first people I found was Astrologer, and I'm fortunate enough to work with her, which is crazy.
I'm so impressed.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So if someone's messages resonate with you, the way they talk, you understand it clearly, if they seem like a genuine person to you. But if you don't really have really that great of an intuitive ability to pick up on personality and all that stuff from a person, I think if you're more of a person likes to read and you're more verbal than visual and all that stuff, read their articles. Most astrologers will have articles posted on their website or they have a group on Facebook or something. Also, you know, and unfortunately, there's not a lot of places that I'm finding that give reviews. You know how we have like the BBB and all that stuff. I haven't really found one yet for astrologers. So that's why I know it is really hard to find somebody that you trust. I do recommend referrals. Like if you have a friend that had a really good experience with an astrologer and tell you like truthfully they're the real deal or whatever, go with referrals too. Because I know it's hard to trust.
Okay, well, I'm referring you. I'm referring you to everybody.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and see if some people, they may have reviews on their page. Like look for reviews on their page too. So.
Okay. And I ask that because, in my opinion, I think it's so important to actually pay a professional astrologer to look at your chart and get you in the know, because that natal chart kind of will help you to understand why you're seeing things that are happening, why have things unfolded the way that they're happening. But then, you know, when you're looking at the present weather, you know, they know how to look at all of the aspects and, you know, just really to break it down. And once you get more clear, you know, maybe you just need a reading every now and again. But I just think it's important to get a reading from an astrologer to get people straight. What do you say about that, April?
Well, that's very much appreciated because because there's a lot of people out there that they think that because this is spiritual work and that we like what we do, that we should just do it for free. No. And a lot of people will try to swindle people out of free readings and free information. And a lot of us, we do get into this business. It is a business, okay? We do get into this business because we genuinely want to help people, and we're very giving, and it's very hard for us to set up boundaries sometimes because we want to give so much information that'll help them, and, you know, we really feel that. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be compensated, that we should just, I have a family, you know, I'm an astrologer. Right. I have a family, I have kids. I don't just survive off of air and love. I mean, hello. So this is a business too, and, you know, I've had to tell a few people when they try to swindle me out of a free reading, I'm like, do you walk into a restaurant and just ask them for free food and they should just give it to you out of the kindness of their heart? That's an establishment. You know, you need to respect people in this business as they're an establishment as well. And also, you know, astrologers, we don't just pull information out of our butts and out of the thin air and say, bam, there's the information. This is what I think. Bam. You know, it's like, no. We sit and study for hours and hours and hours. We buy books. We buy software that's super expensive. We spend so much time honing in on our craft. We take classes. You know, we do all this stuff that a lot of people who may go to an institution to get a degree, you know, and be defined, to have their knowledge defined and validated by them. We do the same thing, but we just take a little bit of an alternate route, you know, but we still invest in it, invest in software, equipment, especially if we're YouTubers. We invest in cameras and editing software. There's time that's taken to do that, you know, so that's why we don't work for free, okay? You don't invest in something just to not get anything in return, no matter how much you love it. So, yes, and I think also an astrology reading is investing in yourself too. Getting to know yourself. It's like so valuable. The know thyself thing is super valuable. So just think of it that way too when you think, oh my God, their prices are atrocious. Why is it? Invest in yourself. Would you buy an expensive pair of shoes or bag or you know, car? Like when you look at those things and you look at quality, and you say, okay, yeah, I'll drop a few stacks for this. Think about your knowing yourself in that same way, and then you won't look at, why do they charge this much? This is atrocious. Right.
And, you know, I am a diviner. I do readings, and I just feel like it will help people not stay stuck in their stumble. It'll help people avert disaster. It's better just to go on ahead and pay, $80, $100. Some people charge more to avoid paying $2,000 down the road, or just being left hung to dry out. Because you got in a business relationship or a romantic relationship with somebody and they have wrecked your life. I would rather just pay the money up front. And so once you get that reading from the astrologer and you're clear about what's going on in your chart, that's a roadmap for you to follow to avert problems that end up creating bigger problems and even creating setbacks, or like you were talking about earlier, April, having to be, dealing with an addiction, because now you're strung out and, your heart's broken and you need something to cope with it. So it's such a good investment to help that will pay it forward in a beneficial way instead of in a negative way. So, everyone, I really encourage y'all to do that, especially if you are the type of person that's saying, look, I just want to understand my chart and I don't have time to become an astrologer to do that. That's what the astrologers are for. Go see April. Okay, so I'm going to go on ahead and ask people. If you have a question, press *6 and then 1. If you have a question for April, *6. Okay, let me see here. Omilade, hey, Baba. Go ahead.
Hey, peace and blessings, Lafayette. I just wanted to say to Sister April, thank you so much for your information tonight. I think as spiritualists and people who are really trying to make the world a better place and really trying to help people, your information was very valuable to all of us. And I really appreciate you coming on with your honesty and your clarity and just information that will all help us all. So thank you again for coming on tonight and giving us that valuable information.
Aw, thank you. You're very welcome. This is what I love doing, so I appreciate that other people appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Baba. He also, this is Baba Omilade, is typically on the call with me too. So he's an awesome guy. He's a priest in the African tradition of Oshun, and he's also a metaphysical priest. So.
Wow.
Thank you, Baba. Yeah, he's the real deal. Good guy.
You're welcome. You're welcome anytime. Thank you all, man. I really enjoyed this evening. I really did.
Oh, good. I'm so glad you're on the call. Thank you, Baba. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go on to Tracy. Go ahead, Tracy.
Hi, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Hi. Okay, so I'm also a Scorpio and rising ascendant.
Wow.
A Capricorn sun and Leo moon. So I feel like I'm all over the place all the time. But I have a specific question. So what's the difference between a synastry report and composite report? Like, I've seen that, like, when you're looking at, like, individuals, like, I guess compatibility and things of that nature. Like, how does all that stuff work?
Oh, that's a good question. So a synastry report is taking the two charts of two individuals and lining them up and seeing what houses the planets fall in each other's charts, and also how their planets touch each other or aspect each other to create what's the energy exchange within those two people as individuals. And then a composite chart, that is taking the calculations of both charts and somehow putting them together to make one chart, a chart of the relationship as a whole, the unit of these two people merged together. What is that? So it's looking at you guys as a unit rather than individuals. And with those, you can with the composite chart, you can treat it like you're looking at an individual birth chart to see what the personality of the relationship is, and also planetary transits over that chart. What's going on in the relationship currently, you can see that by a composite chart too. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
Awesome.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. So for people who are interested in pursuing a relationship, for instance, April, that's when they would use that synastry chart.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is it good for business partners too? Is it just love, or is it just relationships in general?
It's relationships in general. You can look at the relationship between you and your child, you and your parent, you and a friend. And I'll just add also that the composite chart, you can't come up with an accurate one unless you have the birth times of those two people, like the exact known birth time. But synastry, you can still look at if you don't have the birth times and see how the planets, what planets aspect each other. You just won't know, oh, well, his sun falls in my 12th house or something like that. No, it's just the aspects. So, but yeah, for any relationship, you look at synastry, yes.
Okay, good. One thing I do want to mention, I was listening to an astrologer one time, and he got a reading from another astrologer and put it on his YouTube channel. But what he pointed out about this astrologer that this astrologer did right was the astrologer said, this is your name, birth time, date, location of birth, and you did that for my son when you did his reading to make sure that the astrologer is looking at the right chart. How important is that?
That is so important because I have had situations where clients sent me the wrong birth time. And then I did this whole analysis, this reading, and I do lengthy ones, okay? And then they're like, oh, I forgot. I gave you the wrong birth time. It does make a difference because with the time, the ascendant shifts, the houses shift, everything shifts by the minute of time. So, yes, it makes a huge difference. If you don't have your birth time and it's just the day, it won't make as much of a difference. But, yes, giving the right birth time is crucial.
Yes. And it's crucial for the astrologer to say that because that was part of the issue that happened with this person that I know. The astrologer did the entire reading only to realize it was not my friend's information. I'm like, that's foundational to astrology to me. It's like go over and make sure you're looking at the right date and time. So
yes.
I like that about you when you did my son's reading.
Thank you.
Yes. So with the eclipse and Mercury retrograde, one of the things that I think is important as we talk about the houses is understanding how the eclipse and Mercury retrograde is affecting each individual person. So for me, you, and Tracy, the eclipse and the retrograde are happening in, certain areas. But, for instance, my son, who's Aries ascendant, they're happening in other areas. So one of the things I want you all to know about April is she has a special going where she is talking specifically about, and there were 2 eclipses this month, how are these eclipses affecting you, particularly in your birth chart? What kind of information do you give in those readings? Because these eclipses have been such a big deal, April.
Yeah, and they were a big deal. And in the media, everybody was talking about them, especially the solar eclipse, because we could physically see that eclipse here in the States. And, our society is very focused on what you can see and appearances and everything. But what people aren't realizing is the effects of eclipses, as far as how they affect you personally, last up to about 6 months, and maybe even like a few weeks to a month before you may see the changes in that area of life that it affects too. So it's not just this one day, this one phenomenon. No, it's like energetically a huge shift being brought to your life that lasts for a while. So anyhow, what I look at in the eclipse readings that I have right now, and so far I'm only offering them through the 31st of August. If there's a demand for them, I may extend it, but it's only through then. But wow, so I look at a lot of different things. Some of it may be complicated for beginners to understand, but I look at, first of all, the eclipse is the sun and the moon. Where are they positioned? A full moon eclipse, a lunar eclipse, that's a full moon. So the sun is in one sign and the moon is in the opposite sign. So there's an axis in your life that's affected. For example, if it's in if the eclipse happened in your 4th and 10th house axis, that's your career and your family life. There's an opposition there. There's a breaking point that happened where it's like, I can't take this anymore. Something has to change. And it affects both areas of life. A solar eclipse is the sun and moon both in the same sign and the same degree, and so that it's stationed there in that house, that area of life. So it brings a really powerful change there. But not only that, I look at the aspects of any outer planets, any other planets to the eclipse, like this last eclipse we had. And, of course, I look at degrees and everything. So it was 28 degrees of Leo. So I look, okay, what other planets are around the 28th degree, give or take, like 5 to 8 degrees? So Uranus was in 28 degrees of Aries. Oh, okay, that makes an aspect. Saturn. Oh, that makes an aspect. What areas of life are those stationed in for you right now, too? And then, so that leaves an imprint, okay, of like, bam, over the next 6 months, the changes are not just in whatever house the eclipse is in, but it's also in those other areas, too. Then I look at, does the eclipse make any aspects to any of your personal planets in your chart? Like if you have any other planets in fire signs because the eclipse happened in the fire sign, well, what are they in the degree of the eclipse? Okay, so you have Mercury at 28 degrees of Sagittarius. Okay, so bam, the eclipse aspected your Mercury. What houses does Mercury rule, which is another complicated layer of astrology. So it rules this house and this house. Okay, so changes are going to happen there. And then I look at also the nodes, the transiting nodes of the moon. Wherever those are at, whatever signs they're in, that's where the eclipses are happening for the next year and a half. So I look at where's the nodes at. Once the eclipse moves, those nodes are still going to be there. So how is it going to be continuously affecting your life in that area? So I look at that too. And then also I always like to look ahead. So I know that the eclipses are going to be on the Aquarius and Leo axis until January 2019. So then I'll let the client know that up until, it's not just right now, but up until January 2019, this area of your life is going to be consistently hit with changes. So you have to be prepared in this way, that way, whatever. So, yeah, those are my eclipse readings. They're on for $15 right now. And I look at a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. So, yeah.
Just hearing you talk, I'm like, okay, I will be ordering my reading as soon as I get paid. Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's a lot I look at.
Okay, so we have a question from my dear friend, Andrea. Andrea.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi, Andrea.
Hey. Hi, April. Hey, Tirra.
Hey, honey.
April, you said earlier about getting an accurate horoscope reading. You not only go by your birth sign, but you also need your, did you say rising sign and sun sign?
Yes.
Okay. And could you explain that, please?
Yeah, so when you have your birth time, that will give you your rising sign. And I'm
sorry. You said you can't not only go by your birth sign. Like my birth sign, I'm Capricorn. But to get a more accurate reading, I need my rising sign and sun sign, correct?
Moon, too.
Yeah, rising and moon,
okay.
moon sign. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's called like the astrological trinity or big three. Is the sun, the moon, and the rising sign. So,
right,
yeah, those are the ones that you look up. Oh, you're very welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So we're getting closer to the end of the call. Just one more call, *61, and then, *6, and then press 1 if you have a question. Hold one moment. Sakalia has a question. Go ahead, Sakalia.
Yes, good evening. Great call. I just wanted to ask a quick question. She had mentioned, April, you had mentioned a website for your birth chart. I just wanted to know if you could repeat that.
Yeah, no problem. CafeAstrology.com. Cafe, like when you go sit and have coffee.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Sakalia. So is the best way to connect with you at IndigoMoonAstrology.com?
Yeah. IndigoMoonAstrology.com is my website, and I'm constantly building more and more onto it. That's the best way to reach me, and my other social media outlets are posted on there too. And I'm mostly active. I do have a page on Facebook. It's under Pisces Moon Goddess for right now. And then I do have Instagram for my business under Indigo Moon Astrology. So those are the best ways to reach me.
Awesome. And then what else? I know you said for the month of August you're doing readings for love as well as children.
Yeah. So, just only through the 31st. I have specials on readings for love. I have the love and romance reading, which is for individuals to take a look at their chart and see. Like, for example, a lot of times people's main question with love is, why do I keep attracting the same type of person? Or why can't I find somebody good or whatever? So I look at your chart to see who you attract, who you're attracted to, who's ideal for you as far as their energy and their personality. And I also look at areas where maybe you need to work on a little bit, and I'm honest, but I'm nice about stuff. I'm not like, I'm honest, but I'm friendly, okay? And then also I'll look at any planetary transits that are happening or upcoming that may show a change within your love life. And then I have the synastry readings, which we were talking about earlier with another caller, where I take a look at the energy exchange between you and another person, like your relationship and the things that you guys desire out of relationships individually, and then together, how your relationship, what I see as far as how you guys act together, what you guys bring out of each other, and maybe some areas of weakness to work on together. And then I look at any planetary transits that are upcoming or current for you two as well that can affect love life, that maybe you guys need to understand about each other. So, and then the children's one, the children's horoscopes, I have those also, I think only through this month I'm going to be having those too, where I don't do any scary, Tyra will tell you, I don't look at scary stuff for your kids or anything like that. It's just, I could tell you about their personality, maybe like some talents that they have that I see, and maybe like things that maybe you may need to understand about them, maybe you don't see. And if you have any questions about your relationship with your kids, also I can take a look at that. And any like current planetary transits or upcoming ones that may affect them in certain ways. But I only look at certain things for kids. I know it's really touchy. Not everybody wants to know the future of their children and stuff. It's not forecasting really far ahead like that. It's just, maybe they're going to have a certain transit that's going to make them act a little more unruly or make things a little bit more difficult as far as focusing in school or something like that. So I'll just give you a little warning about that and how to help them through that. And I'm a mom. I have 2 kids, and I use astrology to a certain degree with my kids too. So, so I come from the place of a mom, not some creepy fortune teller when looking at your kids.
I have to say that for me, because my son is at that age where he's transitioning into adulthood, I needed to be okay with, because I think children often understand who they are and we don't understand them. And so just the career that he's pursuing is like total the opposite of what I would do. And so I'm like, okay, I really need to trust this, but I just wanted to be sure because he's hyper-focused on this career. And so it was very calming and assuring to me to see he knows exactly what he needs to do. And like for my second one, I'm going to get a reading from April because I think he too has a career that is probably one that didn't exist when I was a girl. So I don't see it. It's like I want to direct him correctly with the activities that he does. I don't want to just think, well, they say this is what we should do with our kids. No, I want to do for him what he needs. And one of the greatest things I understood about him, because my husband is Scorpio, just like through and through. I'm Scorpio rising. And then my older son is Aries. So we're all super active. We work out. We love working out. We love talking about working out. Where my younger son is like, I'm not trying to be all serious like that. He's Taurus, ascendant, and Gemini sun. And I've learned, hey, he needs to just chill out. He needs to enjoy what he's doing. We don't need to be pushing all this hardcore working out on him because it's going to make him feel alienated, mad, and he's not going to want to do it. And he's not going to do it. It just makes me accept this is who he is. So I just need to roll with it. So that was something I love about your readings. Getting that kind of information. Yes.
Yeah, and you know, it really helped me too as a mom. I really wish I would have learned astrology a lot sooner sometimes because I have a son who's about to be 18, and I wish I would have known some things like that he has a moon in Virgo, for example. So the way he sees things, perceives them, reacts to them is very Virgo. And Virgos can be very critical, but also very critical of themselves. Sure. So his inner dialogue, the moon sign for a child, whether small or adult, the inner dialogue is of your parents is your moon. So his moon is Virgo, so it's very self-critical. And I'm like, wow, if I would have known early on, I wouldn't have been as critical of him and just kind of let him be himself. You know, he's quirky and different, and same thing with the active stuff in sports. It's just not in his birth chart to be that way. But yet, when I was a young single mom trying to raise him, I'm looking around, everybody's putting their kids in basketball and soccer and karate. So I try to put him in all that stuff and wonder why he doesn't succeed. Why is my child different? But looking at his chart, he doesn't have all that Mars crazy, active energy. He's an art dude, a music dude. Yes. So when I discovered reading his chart, I was like, he's a Pisces rising. He's got some this, that, and the other, Libra, all this artsy stuff. So I'm like, just let the kid do his music thing and try to teach him a way to still get exercise for his health, but not force this sports and all that. It's not him. Well, he's a boy. He should be in sports. Not every single boy needs to be in the sports. Okay. So,
exactly.
That's the stuff I do in the children's readings is point those types of things out to kind of help you guys to see, like, well, why is my kid a little bit, what's his personality like according to his birth time?
and so now we know, April, and people say, well, babies aren't born with books. Yes, they are. It's called the horoscope. It's called the natal chart. It's called the natal chart. So get the book out, read it, and keep a watch on it. And it's so funny. Andrea and I hang out quite a bit together, and sometimes when things are going on, I'll just say, "Girl, it's in my chart right now, okay? So I cannot help myself." We sort of joke like that. So you can say that about your child. It's in his chart. Y'all stop tripping. If you saw his chart, you would know he's doing exactly what his chart says he's supposed to do. So,
right. I wish I had friends like that. Where I could just tell them, girl, look, I'm going through a 12th house transit. That's why I'm being a hermit. Leave me alone. They'll be like, excuse me, what? What? Oh, my God.
It's funny. Once we start learning astrology, so I'm just the type of person, when I find that star in my life, it's just what it is. It's just my personality. Scorpio can be obsessive. So I was like, yeah, April said she can look at people and tell. And the other day I was going through a drive-thru, and I was like, I bet that girl is Taurus because she's got a pretty face and her teeth, and I was like, stop it. But everything being astrology, sometimes I'll even tell people, I'm so sorry, y'all. If I'm talking too much astrology right now, just tell me to stop because that's all I'm doing right now. So astrology life, what can we say?
Right.
Well,
totally relate.
Is there anything else that you want to share? We're going to start closing out the call. April, just so appreciative of you being on here with us, helping us to get more insight on how we can start using astrology in our lives. Is there anything else you want to add before we get off?
Yeah, the very last thing that I want to add is one of my other biggest missions with astrology is really unity amongst people, because when I look at a chart, when I look at an astrological chart, I can find things that I have in common with people who have the similar makeup as I do, and maybe they live in a totally different country, but we can relate to one another because maybe we have the same rising sign, so we go through certain things in life at the same time, or we have the same moon sign, so there's certain ways that we feel and react to things that are similar, even though we have different upbringings, different nationalities, different beliefs. Astrology can show you wow, I really have things in common with this person, even though I've never met them, and we're different, but yet we're so much alike. Because when I look at a natal chart, I don't see gender, I don't see race, skin color, religious, none of that. It's your soul. It's the soul of a person. All I see is the souls of people. And so by having this knowledge about yourself and others, I think it really can open up some people's minds to, you don't have to separate yourself from other people based on these man-made constructs or physical, attributes. They have nothing to do with your soul. You can connect with any soul you want anywhere in the world and have so many things to talk about and share and vibe with them on the same level. So that's really a huge mission of mine with astrology is unity and just kind of like a hippie love thing. Hey,
I love it.
Love for everybody.
I have never in my life heard an astrologer say that. That is remarkable.
Thank you.
That is remarkable. And it's interesting that you say that because, the ninth house is what has been most interesting to me, understanding that that's about people's beliefs. And depending on what sign is in that ninth house, it'll sort of determine if someone is sort of free-flowy. I'm Pisces sun, so of course I'm free-flowy. Everybody just loves, have the spiritual system that you want, be who you want to be, how you want to do it. It doesn't matter to me. But not everyone's like me. And I used to think, what is wrong with these people? Well, now I know. If they have a certain sign in that house or certain aspects affecting that house, they should be, a certain way. And now I think to myself, I can accept that. They can't help it. It's their birth chart. And it makes me not so resistant and putting up walls. It allows me to, okay, maybe we can't connect there, but let's find some other place in our chart where we can.
Yeah.
Maybe we both love helping people in the same way. So what you're saying is just beautiful, and I that is such a great way to close out this call. This astrology is about unity and understanding one another. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome. I'm really still really honored that you asked me to be on your teleconference. I really appreciate it very much.
Well, I'm so happy that you accepted the invitation, and I'm just going to create the vision gang. One of the things I was telling April this before we started recording the call, one of my visions is I want to start having webinars where we can come together and learn something new, or just get together and do things that are going to help benefit us. You know, we get bites and pieces here and there. That's one thing I love about astrologers. Now that I'm studying to become an astrologer, I realize it will be years before I actually will be caught up to speed. It takes so long. It is amazing to me how much astrologers give away. They give week after week after week. If all they do is that one astrology report, it takes time to create the report. They have to look and see what's going on. They have to figure out what they're going to say, video it, upload it to YouTube. But some astrologers do, you know, just like you do multiple videos. And so y'all give so much. And it's good. And so, you know, we need to get these readings so we can go deeper. That's number one. And number two, having times where we are actually coming together. Like April did a webinar on the Astrologer platform about careers. It totally opened up things for me in understanding, if nothing else, my own career, but also being able to look at, you know, people's charts that I know and kind of give them insight based on the knowledge that I have right now. So it allowed me to go deeper, because the thing that I started feeling is it's like I'm always grasping. And so what I want to do, and hopefully, you know, the vision will unfold for me and April, is maybe April can come and do a webinar for us. And so we can go deeper into astrology and, you know, the harmony of astrology. And so I'm just going to go ahead and say that, because I'm creating a vision, and I want this to happen for us, for the people that I know. And so hopefully we will get back together soon, working together. Until the meantime, April, I will be tuning into all of your shows and just loving all of your sharing. Thank you so much for being here this evening.
Thank you.
And thank you to everyone who joined the call, who watches the replay. I hope that you all avail yourself to the services of April, IndigoMoonAstrology.com. And, you know, like I said, check out on YouTube also. She has writings that she's going to be doing too. So just keep up with her and avail yourself to those services. And I will let you all know when we have the next teleconference. It'll probably be in 2 weeks, but I'll let you know for sure. So thank you, April. Thank you, everyone, for being on the call. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.